What's up, everybody? We are back here for another episode of the Red Glare Podcast, episode 13, middle of the first round of the NBA playoffs. So there's a lot to talk about. There's also some news going on in the tennis world, if you're a tennis fan. But before we do that, let me introduce the crew. I am your host, Alec Miller. You can find me on Twitter at AlecMiller0423. And I'm joined, as always, for the Red Glare Podcast, Pino Trinidad. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Happy to be with y'all again. We're in the midst of playoffs. All the predictions you guys probably had might have crashed by now, or they're really good. Regardless, happy to recap it with you guys and get some reactions. Also happy to have our man Jesus in the building. Jesus, what's up?
Absolutely. From the ANS Podcast, my man Jesus. Normally you see us talking MMA, but today we're going to be talking all about basketball and all other good stuff. So thank you for coming back to the show, man.
Appreciate you guys having me, man. You guys can catch me on Twitter at The Real Jesus, and that's spelled JEEZUS, as always.
Absolutely. So a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world of sports, man. We got live playoffs, which is awesome. You get the live feel. Madison Square Garden going crazy. Fans going crazy in good ways and bad ways, which we will get to soon. But before that, let's go ahead and just talk a little bit about our hometown Astros that are, they're doing good. Not great, but they're doing good. We've been missing Michael Brantley. We can really use Michael Brantley back. You can definitely see the difference in hitting wise. Also, the relievers aren't, they're not up to par recently, but they'll get there. They are a young crew of relievers, especially this past Saturday against the Padres. They just threw in this dude who's never pitched in his life and threw him in there in the overtime. I think it was the 13th inning, and just said, "Hey, try this." And he intentionally walks Tatis and gives up a homer to, I think it was. Not Hosmer. Was it Hosmer?
No, I think it was. Man,
I can't remember.
I'm trying to remember who it was, man. But yeah, I mean, you're right, man, on that. The bullpen, I think one of the worst, for sure, was dead last in the month of May. I'm glad May's over with because they just gave up so many runs and so many clutch spots. They blew 10 out of 12 possible save situations. Our bullpen did in the month of May. So that's an extra, even if you go 50-50 on those, that's an extra four wins that we should have had that we didn't because of it. And it just goes to show how beat up this staff is, man. Not only our bullpen is basically what's showing it, but the real illness is the starters too, man. You have Framber that's been out. You have Odorizzi, who was out for an extended period of time, and when those guys come back, you can move somebody like a Christian Javier to the bullpen. You can move a guy like Garcia to the bullpen, and that kind of strengthens that bullpen where you were weak because those guys have been throwing a lot, man. Like I was watching the games during I think it was a Dodgers series, and there was literally nobody that was fresh in that series. They had like 10 innings pitched in the past 6 days or something crazy like that for a guy that's only supposed to be one inning, which was like Presley or something. Mm-hmm. So it's a bad situation. I'm glad Greinke went eight innings the other day to kind of give those guys a day off, but we're still a little bit away before we get back on track on the bullpen side.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a tough back-to-back series. First you had the Dodgers, then literally right after that you had the Padres. That's a tough outing. You're kind of getting a little bit of a lax time with the Boston Red Sox. Obviously, they're good, but they're not the Boston Red Sox that won the championship. Just like we're not the Houston Astros that won the championship. I know everyone hates talking about Red Sox or Astros, but get over it. That's what we talk about here. Also, we are getting closer to mid-season, which means one of my favorite baseball events, the Home Run Derby. Is there anyone in particular that you guys are looking forward to? And I'm saying this having just talked about the San Diego Padres, so you know where I'm leading. Who do you guys want to see, if anybody, in the home run derby?
Yeah, of course, Tatis and everyone else. I mean, if you could give me Tatis and Mike Trout on like a home run derby, I'd be happy there. But we'll see if that's realistic or not.
How about you, Jesus? Anybody in particular?
Yeah, man, but I'm gonna throw Vlad out there, man. He's leading the league in homers right now.
Yep.
So you got this young resurgence of juniors coming in. You got Tatis Jr. and Vlad Jr. and what are they, like, second generation ball players and the new blood coming into the league. I definitely want to see them go at it. Because those guys are just fun to watch, man. They're just fun to watch, and I think that's something that's sorely needed in baseball right now.
So what happens if we get Vlad, Tatis, and the dude who's also taken the MLB by storm, Shohei Ohtani,
man,
in the home run derby? That'd be amazing. He might not, because he might want to rest his arm for some pitching. Which the fact that he's still so when I went to the game, we played the Angels. And Shohei Ohtani was pitching. Tell me why this dude, after he finishes pitching, goes in the outfield. Like, it's insane to me, the fact that this kid can do that. Pitch at such a high level, because he's pitching at an extremely high level. Let's not. Yeah. If you haven't, check out the clinic that him and McCullers put on the last time they played against each other. But he's also he's up there with, I think he's tied. He was tied with 16. I don't know if Vladdy hit another one today, but he was leading the MLB in home runs for a while. So
Vlad is leading now at 17. Just real quick, man, and I'll let you go, Paul. But I think the MLB has a problem because with their marketing, because Ohtani's doing stuff that hasn't been done since like Babe Ruth or somebody, like 50, 60 years. And only diehards know him, or only diehards know about him, or what he's doing. And this is like a generational type player. And let's say he's not Michael Jordan, he's not the greatest player ever or potentially there. But I mean, he's a once in a generation type player that's a pitcher and a home run hitter, basically a slugger at the same time. And he's doing things that have never been seen before in at least two generations. Like, I know my father's generation didn't see a guy. I mean, besides, Fernando Valenzuela, who was okay, I guess, and Bartolo Colon, who was just funny and would hit a homer every, so often, every time he pitched. But it's not a guy who's DHing on his days off of pitching, And then when he's pitching, he's also, like you said, he threw that gem with McCullers. I mean, it's just something astounding to watch, and it sucks that he's not as big or bigger than he should. And he's playing in Anaheim, in Los Angeles, in California. He should be a huge deal. And he's not that big, which is just kind of frustrating, man.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Like a lot of, I mean, just sports in general, they kind of frown upon these people who can do multiple things. Like they aren't celebrated as much as they should be. And I think even sometimes, like in football, you'll see a player in college, he's returning kicks, he's a wide receiver, he's a DB, like super multi-talented, but kind of by the time he gets to the league, a lot of scouts are kind of frown upon that. They really want somebody specialized in positions. But I think going forward, it could be something we see more of, like people playing multiple positions. It kind of even reminds me of like A-Rod when he was a shortstop and like settled to play third next to Derek Jeter. But I mean, both of those guys were more than capable of probably playing any position in the infield. They just both happen to be really great shortstops. So I think it's possible, like, he might just be like the trendsetter, and hopefully he's appreciated in his career, not like after his career when we see more of this type of play. But yeah, that's my comments on him.
And we also know that the MLB has a marketing problem because of the fact that the only time they're even brought up really in sports and like national media and stuff, when they're not playing on ESPN or whatever, just to get some damn publicity, there has to be something bad, like Tony La Russa digging at his own player, basically getting mad at the fact that he's hitting a home run on a 3-0 count. Which the fact that there's rules and Jesus, we've talked about unwritten rules and how much we hate them. They're so dumb. There's a reason. There's a reason they're not written down. That's always when someone's like, it's an unwritten rule. I'm like, dude, that rule is so dumb they didn't even write it down. They were basically just like if you want to enforce this, fine, but when this isn't going to be put in, we're not writing this in stone or anything. It's because basically these rules are made to make pitchers happy because pitchers have hurt feelings. They don't like people getting bat flipped, and one of my biggest things was like a couple years ago when a guy bat flipped or took his time walking around the bases. The pitcher told him like man, that's not how you do things. Blah blah blah. Like, dude, it's if you want him, it's how I look at like wrestlers in the UFC. Like, if you don't want them to wrestle, then stop them from taking you down. If you don't want the pitch, if you don't want the ball, I think it was in San Francisco Giants stadium because outside over the wall they have the water.
Mm-hmm.
So he hit it in the water and he like watched it for a while. And I was like, dude, if you don't want him to hit it in the water, then then pitch better. Like, don't give up a home run. It's just so dumb when I hear like my friend included, one of my close friends, Gil, is such an old school baseball head. Where it's just like, dude, have some fun when you're playing sports. Like, if I hit a home run, I'm taking my time walking the bases. I'm jumping on every bag. I'm doing all kinds of craziness. I'll do a somersault on the damn home plate, man. Like, if you want me to stop, then stop me. But don't throw it at my head. Don't throw it at my head. Don't get all mad because literally Mercedes who did that to I think it was a position player. It was
It was the guy from the
La Tortuga is what they call him, right?
Yeah.
So he did it. They did it to him. And another thing is, like, if you don't want someone to bomb it on your position player that you put on the plate, then don't put a position player on the plate. Like, and if you have an issue with people like getting bored or whatever, because that's basically what happened was they got bored. They put a position player on the plate because they were getting blown out. And like, so why is that team allowed to give up and make the game boring? It's the reason why people don't watch baseball anymore. And then you have then you get mad at the guy who bombed it because you decided to put that guy on the plate. It's just, you shouldn't. And like, I think you told me, Jesus, in text message, like, it's a contract, or those are arbitration numbers. Like, when he's up for arbitration, Mercedes can put down home run numbers. That home run that La Tortuga gave up, it ain't going to affect his arbitration.
But yeah, and one of the things, like, if you really want to get down into the nuts and bolts of it, man, like, why are they putting in a position player? Well, they're saving their arms to beat you tomorrow, right? And at the same time, these batters have to like, I mean, it's been said before, whenever it's a home run derby, they say that it throws off your timing because it's so slow. So they're throwing up a position player up there and they're having to time it. And it just throws everything off. So I feel like there still is a lot of benefit for the other team to throw a position player out there. So if you put them out there, then these guys are going to bat. And I think too, like, it came out later, which I don't believe it, but La Russa was trying to say that he told him to take on 3-0 and he swung, which I think that's just him trying to save face because I doubt that happened. I really think that he was expecting him to take, but he didn't tell him to take. You know what I mean? And he's a rookie, so he swung, and it is what it is. But even like we saw CC Sabathia talking about put up a run rule. Put up a run rule just like they do in
the league.
In a kids game, and you can say, well, these are professionals and you can come back. And I mean, what's the biggest comeback that's ever happened? I don't know, like 10 runs maybe, if that. So put a run rule at 11 or something. I don't know, but it's dumb, man. And all these unwritten rules, they're dangerous too. They're dangerous too, man, because you're gonna. I mean, we just see a guy get hit in the nose with the fastball and he fractured his nose and he was leaking, like that. Like, how can you equate hitting a home run on a 3-0 count when you're getting blown out to getting hit and potentially hurt? I think Bregman got hurt too when he got hit by a pitch and he hit him on the wrist too this year, something like that. Yeah. So you can do damage, man. Even when you're not trying, you can do damage. So it's dumb, man. The unwritten rules, I don't like them. I have buddies who played in JUCO in baseball, and they're all about the unwritten rules because that's how they were brought up, and they're just old school. And they don't want to, like, I don't know if they're being stubborn or if that's just how they feel because that's how they were brought up on the game. But I feel like it is changing. I feel like Tatis, like we talked about earlier, is one of the guys that's helping bring that change in that conversation. And there's going to be more young players coming in that will change the unwritten rules going forward.
Absolutely, man. The thing about Tatis, dude, Tatis has swag. He's not going to let anybody. He does, man. He's got a swagger about him where he just comes in and like I told Paul earlier, or this weekend, like he's one of those guys that when he's playing and if you can catch him, watch his at bats, man, because you never know what will happen. He might blow the ball away. He might bomb the ball up into the train tracks here in Houston and have the damn fans at Minute Maid going crazy for it, because that's how transcendent this guy is. And I hope that MLB finally does the smart thing, because they've always been so like shy, like very like shy on pulling the trigger on making new stars. The last guy they tried to make a star, they've succeeded, was Mike Trout, and Mike Trout's taken the Angels to one playoff series. He took them to one playoffs, and I believe they got bounced in the first round. Yeah. So it's like that when that's your biggest star and he can't get his team to the playoffs, that's an issue. Whereas this dude Tatis, he takes these Padres who no one cared about last year or the year before. All of a sudden, everyone's calling them Slam Diego, and they're and you know what? Maybe we need to give Manny Machado some props, because Manny Machado must have saw it coming. That's why he went. He saw something, man. Because when he went to San Diego, that was a huge surprise. I don't think I wasn't really expecting him to go to San Diego. So he must have been like, I want to go play with that kid.
I also think it's San Diego, man. I think it's beautiful out there, and they got.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's like a destination place, and they got they got Hosmer. When they got Hosmer, I think that was a big gift for them too, because he was just coming off of his first contract with Kansas City, and they had gone to the World Series, and they got him, and I think that's kind of when I opened my eyes, like, oh man, people want to play in San Diego, not necessarily for the organization, but because of where it's at, and they get money, because they're paying out like top dollar. That's how they're getting these guys. Yeah. I also think Tatis, has a little bit of leeway because of his name. You know what I mean? Like, I think if it was a different type of player that didn't have that legacy, that they would give him more of a hard time. I think he knows that. And I think he knows that he wants to push the boundaries of baseball, because obviously he loves the game and he wants to push it forward. So he's kind of, I don't know, man. It's so weird. I feel like we're at this place where he's kind of the guy that's grabbing that torch. It should have been Mike Trout, but it's him grabbing that torch and kind of pushing it forward to the next generation.
Yeah, and then him and the Dodgers are doing it too, because they're going to play each other how many times a year? And each time it's a banker. Like I think they played already 3 times?
Yeah,
four series. Like, and each game was like can't miss.
Yeah, and not only that, but he had a back and forth with Tyler Bauer, with the whole.
Oh, nice.
On social media.
Yeah, and Tatis took him deep too. So.
He did the one eye thing.
The one eye thing, yeah.
But you know what? And Trevor Bauer, I know you call him Tyler Bauer, but Trevor Bauer took it on the chin, didn't whine and pout about it.
Man, I feel like Tyler Bauer is the most unlikable guy, but I definitely respect him. I recently found his blog on YouTube, and he talked about, I think he lives in the Woodlands. I think he lives in Houston.
He wants to be an Astro.
He wants it so bad.
He's wanted for so long to be an Astro. That's why he's constantly talking. Like, we live rent-free in his mind, and I love it.
Yeah, well, he lives here, but he's also, like you said, like, he took it on the chin, and he understands, and his whole crusade with the whole foreign substances on baseballs and stuff like that since 2014 is really interesting to me. But yeah, man, like, he took it on the chin, and that's how it should be. Like you said, if you're gonna talk mess, he can back it up. And Bauer's a good pitcher, man. I don't like the guy, but he is a good pitcher. He knows what he's doing, and he got one time, so he's gonna come back and try to strike him out the next time. And that's the type of competitive nature that there should be in baseball, instead of the whole let's see if he throws him high heat and breaks his arm, so he's out for 6 weeks and ruins it for
behind him.
Yeah. There's no need for that.
I kind of equate like throwing somebody at somebody intentionally, and I'm gonna bring this example up for you guys since you do Arm Bars and Suplexes podcast. It's just like, if a fighter puts somebody at the wall or like throws a punch or something like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't really like benefit anybody. Like it's purely emotional. And if anything, you just put a fighter at risk, to miss the fight. And like that's kind of how I felt, like somebody stepping up the plate and just like trying to get drilled. I mean, it doesn't really bring any benefit. Like it might bring some fan satisfaction, I guess, in a weird way. But for the most part, it's like you're just risking somebody's health. You're not beating them at the actual game. You're trying to injure them. And those are reasons I don't like. And one other point is like talking about the old school versus new school. It kind of reminded me like this is a painful moment for all you Houston sports fans, and including me, is when we played the Nationals in the World Series, and Juan Soto with his little ritual at the bat. And I noticed like two different ways, like the way Verlander handled it versus the way Garrett Cole handled it. Keep in mind, Garrett Cole got the win, and I don't think Verlander did, but during that Verlander game, like he was getting frustrated. He was kind of like shouting at him, exchanging words and shit. And then, Garrett Cole was after his game, he kind of gave him props, and he's like, man, that kid's good and shit like that. So it just gave me a perspective, like, how two different pitchers look at it. Verlander's obviously a bit more old school than Garrett Cole, even though, you know what I'm saying? So he kind of lives by those hard-nosed rules. He takes that as disrespect, and Garrett Cole just kind of saw it more as like, being a bit younger, being a bit less traditional. He just saw it as a challenge. So I think like one of you guys mentioned right now, it'll eventually change a bit more. When you're an Astros fan, it's not fun looking at Soto. It pisses you off, but at the same time, every time he came up to bat, everyone in my family was pissed and watching that at bat, so it's kind of what we need, even though it sucks sometimes to watch.
Well, it's funny you say that, because now that I'm putting two together, like Tatis, like people hate the Astros for different reasons, but like we don't got guys like that. Like we really don't. We don't really have guys like Tatis that showboat. We don't got guys like Soto who tries to do intimidating stuff. But they're villains, and it's like why you watch Mayweather. You don't watch him because you like him. You watch him because you want to see him get knocked out or get beat, however. And we want to see these guys get struck out and kind of humbled because they're being show-offs. They're showboating a little bit. And we want to get him. We want to see him get struck out. We want to see him get humbled, And the other one you didn't mention was Greinke. When Greinke pitched against Soto, they've done like full breakdowns of that of what he did and how he handled it. And he was like, "Nope, get off. I don't want to pitch to you right now." No, all right, well I'm gonna get it off. And like it was a mind game. He knew it was a mind game, and it was like, it was respect. It was like a mutual respect of what each one was trying to do to the other of the mind game. So yeah, man, that's definitely a good point on how Verlander treated it versus how Garrett Cole treated it. And I think we're going to see more, obviously, because it's younger. The league is a young man's game. We're going to see a lot more younger players coming in and kind of changing that unwritten rule stuff. And we'll get to see more showboating. We get to see more bat flips. We get to see more jogging around the bases in their own time, not being sped up and not being yelled at by the pitcher or catcher. So
also, Greinke's no stranger to mind games. Keep in mind, it's the guy who throws the eephus pitch whenever he wants to. He does a nice little like 40, 45, 50 mile an hour pitch, and the guy's like just like the fuck. So no stranger to mind games at all. But let's go ahead and get into something else that pertains to the mind and where someone's mind state can be, and that's Naomi Osaka. This young dude, this young woman. She's 23 years old, number 2 in the world in tennis. Well, she just dropped out of the French Open because of the fact that she said that it's just better for her and for the fans and for tennis if she just doesn't play, because she's been dealing with depression and dealing with the media hasn't helped her. And you kind of saw right away that I don't know who the governing body is for tennis, but they put out a statement saying that they were going to fine her and she wasn't be allowed to compete. And then she put out her statement saying why she dropped out. So there was a big old discussion all over the sports world about should athletes be forced to talk to the media. And I just kind of want to get your guys' perspective on this, because Jesus, we've had this conversation many times when it comes to fighters, especially fighters who get knocked out. Should they be talking to these people
when they're concussed?
Or when they just came off of a loss, like how Cam Newton just walked when he lost the the Super Bowl and just walked off the field, and everyone chastised him for it. Tom Brady does it; he's just super competitive. But when Cam Newton does it, he's a sore loser and all this other stuff. Y'all can read into that what y'all want. I know there's two glaring differences about those two people, but because one, never mind, I'm not gonna say it. If you haven't figured it out, I mean, come on. But like, should athletes coming off of losses have to talk to the media, especially if it's affecting their mental health? Obviously, we've also had Kyrie Irving come out and say that he doesn't like it. He doesn't like talking to the media. Don't forget the infamous "I'm only here so I don't get fined" incident with Marshawn Lynch. How would you guys kind of tackle this? Because I understand the media is part of it. You're selling yourself. You're selling the sport, and that's what the media does. They make it so that they get this out to the people who probably just pick up the paper and look at what someone said or what a reporter said, ask the question. So that's there are some people that do that. Do you think it should be forced, or do you think it should kind of go by case basis?
Well, for the case of Naomi Osaka, I'm fine with it for a couple reasons. Like, one, everyone gets tired of work and they need a day off every now and then. And sometimes it's a big day, sometimes it's the end of your quarter. Like, I'm in sales, that's a huge day for us, but sometimes that's the day I'm most tired. Sometimes that's the day got to take my daughter to the doctor or something like that. So I get it. The other side of it too, though, is really the fact that, like, what I liked about it, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is that she didn't pull all the attention from the event. So she basically removed herself and was like, look, like, I'm not feeling up to it. I don't think I'm going to, give a great performance. I don't think I'm going to give a great performance in the media either. So I'm going to take myself out of it, let the event commence. So, that to me, like, it's, yeah, like, she's making herself the center of attention right now, but it was also kind of unselfish because by the time the event comes around, she's not taking away from that next athlete who comes up and wins it. It's still going to be their moment, and I respected her for that. But as far as, like, losing in general, it really depends, man. Like, I think even in the NBA, I'm not a huge fan of, like, on the court interviews. Like, as soon as the game ends, sometimes I just feel like they're just asking them pointless questions, if I'm being honest. And athletes are just trying to get off the floor. They're trying to go celebrate with their teammates. But ultimately, like, I think there is a time for media. But also when an athlete loses, it's kind of like kicking somebody when they're down. I mean, how much can you really drill them for their performance? Maybe we need to change, like, the angle of questioning. But it obviously varies, is my point. But in the case of Naomi Osaka, I'm fine with it. I totally get where she's coming from, and I appreciate that she's not going to take away from the event the day of and let somebody else have that spotlight. Over to you, Jesus.
I mean, you made a lot of fair points there, man. And to go to Naomi Osaka, a couple things for her. First, I think she called their bluff, man. I think she called their bluff. I think by them trying to find her and her telling them what was going on and why she didn't want to do certain things, and them saying they were going to find her, she's like, okay, whatever. I'm not gonna let you do this going forward. I have a name right now. I'm big right now. One of the best players in the world right now. Let me go ahead and shine a light on you for the stuff that you're not doing correctly. And you said that she's not. She's being selfless, right? Like, that's what she's doing, because it does look like it's selfish because the spotlight is on her, but this is a bigger issue overall. And she's basically taking that fight to the International Federation, the French Tennis Federation, and all that because of how they treated her. So I think it's big of her to do it. I think it has to be done. The whole mental issues, like, going back to, I remember the first time any mental issues came into sports, at least in my life, was with Ricky Williams. Ricky Williams, when he came out, he didn't want to do interviews. He was wearing his visor, his helmet, doing interviews because, and people looked at him weird and funny. I thought myself, like, what is this guy doing? This guy's crazy. And it turned out he had anxiety, man. He had anxiety. He had depression. That's why he would smoke a lot of weed, because he couldn't deal with it. And it wasn't as as prevalent back then, and it wasn't as understood as it is now. Back in the day, back then, that's 2002, 2003.
True.
So from then to now, if we look at it, man, if we look at this in a vacuum, media hasn't stayed the same, right? Media has gone negative because that's what gets clicks. That's all that gets click is negative, negative, negative. So these athletes have stayed the same. They still play the same game. They're getting better. They're getting faster. They're getting smarter. But the media is getting negative. So how they get covered is 90% negative, man. It's negative questions. And I was thinking about Popovich, the Popovich interviews in basketball. They're the funniest things ever, but they're also the saddest things ever because they're asking him dumb questions. Mm-hmm. And he responds with dumb answers. He'll say, did you see the same game I saw? Then you saw we're not rebounding. So yeah, we need to rebound more. Like that's dumb. It's stupid. And it's beneath him, and it's funny to us because we're like, man, he doesn't give two craps about it. But I definitely think that there needs to be, some level of a shift, a change, because it's on negative right now. The media's on negative. I understand as well too that it's part of it. Like I think Alec, you mentioned that this is what they sign on for. You got to push the game. I mean, tennis is tennis, man. It's as big as it's gonna get. I mean, yeah, you can get more fans here and there. You're not gonna do it by alienating your best player. That's not how you're gonna do it. So what needs to change, man? You need to adapt and change and be more positive and be more understanding to your star players, and understand that it's part of the game to grow the game. But I mean, the NFL is an $8 billion a year game. The NBA is a $4 billion a year game. Like it's not going to be one thing if Kyrie Irving doesn't answer questions after one postseason game on a bad loss. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be a big deal if you can do it at a different time when he's mentally better, when he's digested it. And I think too, like the whole Kyrie thing, man. Kyrie has been beat down, negative, and he's talked about his mental health issues before, and they've just solidified his negativity towards media. Like they didn't make it any better, so he's not gonna make it any better. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to answer anybody. Mm-hmm. He'll just be there, and he'll do what Beast Mode did. I'm just here so I won't get fined. Yep. And then we get nothing out of it as fans. Absolutely. Why? Because the media pushed him that direction. So. I'm glad she's doing what she's doing. I don't know if you guys saw. They asked Serena Williams, not Serena.
I think it was Serena. Was it Serena or Venus? One of them. I think it was Serena because I'm pretty sure it was the one that she beat, the sister that she beat.
Yeah,
she's beating Serena.
So they asked. So you saw it then? What she said?
Yeah. She was like basically, everyone's built differently. One of them, she was like, "I'm thick, she's thin."
No, you didn't see what she said to the media?
Oh no, I didn't see what she said.
They asked her, "How do you deal with the negative media so you can help other people, and even somebody like her, like Naomi Osaka?" And she goes, "Well, I just think that anybody asking me questions has never played the game, can never play the game at my level or even close, and cannot even hold a candle to me. And so when I think about that, then I don't worry about anything they say."
Absolutely. I love that. Because what they say? They say those who can't do teach, those who can't teach. I mean, the actual quote is teaches gym, but yeah, you could put the other one is teaches. Tries to teach others that watch the game what they see from it. So real quick, Paul, I wanted to just compound on what Jesus said, because he kind of took the words right out of my mouth about the negative media and how basically nothing good gets clicks. Think about they're looking for you to make that one mistake, say that one thing you're not supposed to say, because everyone knows that you're not supposed to actually say what you're thinking. If a guy on your team didn't pass you the ball enough, or Tom Brady doesn't go into his interview saying that guy didn't block enough for me or whatever, you don't say that in the interview, but that's what the media is hoping for, so that they can jump on that. And if you don't give it to them, if you give them those generic answers that everyone gives every time they ask that question, you're seen as a bad interview. You're seen as disingenuous. You're just seen as you have this huge negative connotation. Let's point to most recently the interview with Doc Rivers. Embiid goes down. Ben Simmons has a really hard time at the free throw line, and the dude asked Doc Rivers, at any point did you consider taking Ben Simmons out the game? And Doc Rivers said, "Are you serious? No. Are you?" Were you watching the same? Are you watching the same game? Do you know basketball basically? And the guy literally says, I have to ask. The fact that you're not even owning your question, that just means that tells me that you have somebody in your ear that's telling you to ask this question because you're trying to bait Doc Rivers into saying like, I don't know, man, maybe we should have took him out, and then destroyed Ben Simmons' confidence right then and there, destroys his relationship with him, and the media has they suffer no consequences from it. They get all the great stuff from it that they'll get, like clicks and all that. And then he even said, like, he said, well, if you think that, please say that. Tell me that you want me to take him out. I'll take him out because then that just shows me that you don't know basketball.
Exactly.
And that's what we're starting to get. Popovich started it, man. Popovich really did start it. And I tell my supervisor all the time when he asks me why I gave him a dumb answer. I say, hey, man, stupid questions get stupid answers. Like that's how I think all players and all coaches should probably approach it. Now, in terms of the mental health, like the fact that I heard like 4 times today, that's what these players sign up for. That's what these players signed up to play a game, that they knew was going to get them to where they wanted to be and get their families to have the lives and have their kids and their kids have the life that they never got to have. That's what they signed up for. They didn't sign up to be chastised for and get every single word that they say picked apart. Like that's not something we should be pushing. And I feel like that's a lot. And that's something that happens a lot in all industries. Of like, oh, you deal with a shitty boss. Well, you kind of signed up for it. You knew that this is
right.
You can't do that. When you do that, you push this agenda and this thought process that I think a lot of people in America have, and I'm going to point to the winter storm that we had here in Texas. The day before it happened here in Houston, it happened in Dallas, and there was a huge pileup because people said, I have to go to work. I have to go to work no matter what you were told. I have to go to work. I can't miss. I can't be sick. And I'm telling you this because I didn't get paid for that, and it fucking sucked when we missed those days, 4 days that we couldn't hit. But because basically our jobs, the company that people work for, they shit on the little guys. They shit on their employees because they don't have to do anything that the employees want. They do everything based off of their own pockets. And the sports is the exact same way. Like you don't see owners coming to the defense of guys like Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving had dealing with mental issues. Literally had to step away from the team, and not once did you hear the owner of the Nets come out and say anything like, hey, man, like, we understand we're talking to Kyrie. We're trying to get him to get into a better place because they don't care. And I think until owners and all those people start to like take mental health and athletes seriously, because what do they say if an athlete hurts themselves? Oh, like he quit. Oh, yeah. They quit. They couldn't go out there, especially in the playoffs. Oh, they quit. I literally heard somebody say that Luka made up a neck injury. Get the hell out of here with that shit, man. Like that has to stop. And it's because people on the national media, they get paid to say these outlandish things like somebody quit. You don't know what's going on in that person's mind. They probably didn't quit. They just had a bad game, and you're telling them that they're not good enough or that they quit on their team. And like how long can you handle that if you're a person?
I think.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I just had a small nugget, and because Alec was talking about this last time, like it goes back to your point, Alec, about like holding the media accountable. How? I mean, that's obviously yet to be answered, but I think that's like the solution, because you talked about this a couple episodes back, I believe, like Stephen A. Smith and these guys just kind of sounding off whatever's in their mind, but not in their heart. But yeah, man, that's the only thing I wanted to add. Go for it, Jesus.
I just wanted to. I don't know if you guys remember the Royce White.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
And I feel like at the time I was I was frustrated with it from both standpoints. One, because I was actually excited about Royce White's skill set. You know, a big guy that can handle the rock and had athleticism. And then I was also disappointed with how it was handled and how he handled it as well, because I felt like the Rockets did have some ear to be able to make some changes, but the type of changes that he wanted to make were like sweeping overall to the whole NBA, and that was too much too fast. But I definitely feel that him crawling allowed Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving to kind of walk, so that they get more leeway right now, even though they're still scrutinized more, they still have negative publicity on them more, but definitely have more choices available for them from a basketball standpoint and from a person standpoint than what Royce White had here in Houston.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good point too. What Alec made about the owners, because I remember even during COVID and the pandemic, like I saw like Zion coming out, paying the salary for some of these arena workers. And, I saw a meme and it really like brought it to life. Is like the NBA, it showed the NBA owner like laughing that Zion was paying the salaries of employees. And it's true. It's like, well, where were these owners during these times? Like, I didn't see any of them like doing any of that. It was all the players stepping up. So it's obviously good publicity for the players, but at the end of the day, like, are the owners the ones that should be held to a higher standard, more accountable for some of this?
Same thing with, and I know his name is sullied now, but Deshaun Watson paid for everybody in the Texans stadium to get paid whenever Harvey came. Yep. And I mean, he was literally donating hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars
on his rookie contract.
On a rookie contract to pay this stuff. And where was the billionaire owner, man? The billionaire owner didn't do a damn thing. So yeah, man, I think a lot of stuff is going to be changing with that, with not only accountability, but also just be decent human beings, man. I mean,
that's the problem, man.
Yeah, just be a decent human being, and for some reason, billionaires struggle with that, man.
I agree with that, man. I agree with that. You know what else they're struggling with? They're struggling keeping crazy ass fans out of their arenas. I guess they're kind of getting better because these people are getting caught on television,
right?
But now that we have live sports, it's back basically in full effect now. With basketball at least, and baseball, we know Minute Maid is now at 100% capacity too. Fans are we're starting to realize that fans have been in quarantine for just a little too long, because I think that's what's leading into these like crazy incidents that's happening. The Astros Dodgers, that big old fight those two guys that got into a fight right here, and I'm of the I'm of the mind that if you fight, if you can't take care, if you can't conduct yourself as like an adult at a sporting event, then you can go. If you are involved in any kind of physical violence, you can be banned for the rest of your life, in my opinion. So I'm hoping, I don't know what happened with those two guys, but I hope they got banned for life. Then we had the popcorn incident with Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook almost wanted to go up there and fight the guy. Then we had the guy spitting in the garden at Madison Square Garden, spitting at Trae Young. Literally, he was standing over 50 Cent and spit at Trae Young. And then also the water bottle that got hurled at Kyrie Irving in the Garden. And now we're starting to see that these people are really starting to get charged. So the guy from Philly, I'm pretty sure he's banned. I know for sure that the guy who spit in Trae Young's direction was banned for life. I think they're saying it indefinitely. They don't want to put a time slot on it. And the guy who threw the bottle at Kyrie Irving, he's getting charged with battery with the dangerous weapon and with assault. So you see that at least law enforcement's taking it seriously. And
the Jazz had one too with John Morant's family, and then there was also a smaller one. It was that fan running on the court.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So
the backboard.
So like that one is more like we've seen that before. I feel like we've seen streakers. We just saw it literally at the Super Bowl. We saw a streaker. So we know that happens. It's not great. It's not ideal, but it does happen.
Yeah, I think that one was more like concerning since all these events happened, and
Yeah.
then, you still think to do that.
And I'm pretty sure it was more like he was sitting at home realizing how much attention these guys were getting, and decided to do his own, but not as serious. Obviously, he's probably going to get like banned for like a year or two, but he'll be allowed back probably. But the other guys are way more serious, like the spitting. We just came out of a pandemic, and you have the balls to spit at a player.
Yeah.
Like, what is your problem? And I think it's because I've heard people mention it. It's because we haven't had a Malice in the Palace in this generation yet.
well, I mean that's a good point, but my thought process on that is it goes back to the league. Mm-hmm. They were the league that a professional athlete jumped into the stands and fought fans. How long ago was that, man? You're talking about what, 16, 17 years ago, probably more now at this point.
Yep. Yeah.
And they don't have strict protocols in place so that there's no potential for any of these things happening. And it's just ridiculous, man. Like how can this happen at this day and age coming off of a pandemic? It should be on lockdown. The ushers should be at every interval that you can be, and as soon as they see something, and to top it off, like what would you guys say is the percentage of people that did this that are intoxicated?
Oh, can I say 100? like yeah.
So
across the board.
So tell your guys selling beers, hey, this guy can't have any more beers after whatever. Or this guy can't do. You know what I'm saying? Like, how come bars be held responsible for the amount of beer they give somebody in a night because they could potentially cause an accident when they're driving home drunk, but these guys can't whenever they're at a place that they have that close proximity to these athletes, and it's just dumb, man. I think it's really a shameful spot for the league to be in right now, man. And that's one of the only like dull spots for the NBA. I feel like the NBA now is turning into the Premier League out of baseball and football, and yet they're still having these dumb issues with these dumb fans, and that's casting a shadow over these very, very entertaining playoff games, including the play-in games. Yep. And we're talking about this stuff versus talking about the product on the court.
Absolutely. And you have a point. Maybe we should talk about the product on the court, because these playoffs have been insane. A roller coaster of emotions. The only sweep that we have was the Bucks and the Heat. And I don't know if Giannis is listening to the ANS podcast with us when we were talking about Rose Namajunas, but he kind of quoted me when he said he was taught never to play with his food, and that's what he did. He did not play with his food at all. Jesus knows I mentioned that. I told him that whenever Rose Namajunas was fighting Jessica Andrade, and then she got slammed on her head because she was playing with her food. You never play with your food, and Giannis did the right thing, and now he's resting. But just tonight, the Nets have beat the Celtics in a gentleman's sweep, so they are going to be starting to get ready for that series, which I know everyone's saying Nets. If this Bucks team can play the way that they've been playing, if Chris Middleton shows up, I know DiVincenzo's out and that sucks, but if Brooke Lopez shows up, if Forbes can like not miss a three like he did and I think it was game 3, like this team this Nets team will be in trouble because they're not good defensively. How are they going to stop?
How are you holding, like, how are you not talking about PJ right now, man? How are you not talking about PJ?
PJ's great too.
Dude, I mean, the job he did defensively, man, was you got to talk about that, man. You got to talk about it. But yeah, man, this is gonna be, I don't know. This is one of the series that I'm excited about. I'm kind of like, and real quick to go back to your ANS podcast, why didn't you say when you said Whaley don't play with your food with Rose? You didn't say that part.
You stop. Any Whaley bashing is blasphemous.
And this slander, any Whaley slander,
it's blasphemous. It's absolutely, don't ever do that.
I just wanted to say that out loud because you glossed over it because she was playing with your food.
No.
And but yeah,
No,
man.
You know what? That's not her. That wasn't her playing with her food. That was Rose Namajunas taking care of herself and becoming a better fighter because she took care of her mental health. See what happens when you take care of your mental health, kids? You can beat up a.
Are you slandering Wei Lee because you're saying that Rose didn't play with her food when she knocked out Wei Lee? Is that which one are you saying? Which one are you saying?
Wei Lee's gonna come back better than ever. She shaved her head. She's gonna be great.
I don't know, man. I just wanted to say that this next round is gonna be interesting.
Across the board.
Yeah, man. Like I'm just trying to see what's the weakest potential matchup. I know we still haven't gotten out of a bunch of them, but still, like this Bucks Nets is like you have to watch each game, man. No matter where it goes, you have to watch each game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think like it's a heavyweight matchup. Like
this should be a conference finals.
Exactly. Yeah, like it should be. And Philly deserves credit too, don't get me wrong, but to me, like Philly, I mean, Brooklyn and Milwaukee are like top 4 teams, you know. So for 2 of them to play, it's exciting. I haven't quite decided like which way I'm leaning yet, and I probably will take my time until right when it starts. But one thing that's been going in my head is like when the Lakers had that 2-1 lead over the Suns. It started making me remember like the beginning of the season and like how everyone picked Brooklyn and LA. So I started kind of like going back to my roots, and I'm like, well, like, is this gonna happen still, right? Like, is this the movie we already knew was gonna happen, and now it's finally happening, and we're all dumb to believe otherwise, you know? So that's what I've been thinking of a lot, and obviously, like Brooklyn can just like outscore anybody, so they have a legitimate shot, but I think Milwaukee. I mean, the weakness of Brooklyn is like their interior defense, dude. Like anyone and everyone scores in them. Like once they get in the paint, I mean, Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, they're kind of like shells of their old selves. So there's not really any rim protection for Brooklyn. You know, it's kind of just like, well, if they get in, they might score 2, but we'll score 3 on the other end. Let's just keep outscoring them. So I think like Milwaukee has a legitimate shot. And so will Philly, but you're obviously it's like playing a 3-headed monster. So we just have to see if someone will stop Giannis. I think that's the key. Like, is KD gonna guard Giannis? Is he gonna be the one to take up that assignment defensively? Maybe, but it's unlikely he's gonna really like hold him every single game. So yeah, man, I think it's gonna be a good series. Like I think it's gonna go 7, but I just haven't decided which side I'm on yet.
Yeah, and. The thing is, in order to beat Milwaukee, the blueprint to beat Milwaukee is out there. You know, you clog up the middle, you make sure Giannis doesn't get to the basket. The thing is, Brooklyn doesn't have the personnel to be able to do that. So all that's going to do is open up the rest of the floor, open up his shooters, and he's got legit shooters this year, man. Drew Holiday was a gigantic get for them. Like I said, PJ's he's going to be in that corner no matter what, draining that 3. He's going to miss 5 of them, but he'll hit 2. Like, it's going to be okay.
And he could pick up KD a bit, too. Like, if you think about it, you kind of got a combo of PJ and Giannis on KD. That's not bad.
Absolutely.
He's gonna pick up Harden, too, and he knows Harden's tendencies.
Yeah.
So. Yes. I can't wait for that. The thing is, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard, but I think this is a series that it's funny because it can go either way. It can be a 7-game series, or it could be a sweep either way. Like, you just don't know when it comes to this team because all of a sudden, like you said, if Milwaukee can't slow down this 3-headed monster, I mean, it could be a sweep, but it's in the same line. If Brooklyn can't even slow down Giannis, it's going to be an extremely long series for them. So it just comes down to who's willing to put in the effort. Budenholzer is on the hot seat. I think if Budenholzer doesn't make it to the finals, he's gone. Whereas Steve Nash is a young coach who, not young obviously, but it's his first year, and you got handed these guys. Can you make the adjustments in order to get the team to where they need to be? Because, like everyone knows, coaching is extremely, at least in my opinion, coaching is important in the finals because. We talk about it in the fight IQ, basketball IQ. Like, can you make the adjustments mid-game in the middle of the game, at halftime or whatever you do. Budenholzer has done it, and he's had longer with his team. Whereas, don't forget, months ago, Kyrie was saying they don't even need a coach. So you just never know, man. I'm probably gonna lean with the pick that I made originally, which was Bucks. But the thing is, I'm not comfortable with it because we've seen when this team is clicking, like how dangerous they are. But I think that one game that Boston took, I mean, if I know it was because Tatum went for 50, but if you can get like a 30-point game from both Giannis and Chris Middleton, like who's stopping that?
Yeah, I also think that the X factor is going to be like you're basically hinging the Nets' chances on two things. One, can they outscore them? And two, can DeAndre and Blake Griffin give you 4 games that they're going to be able to hold down somewhat in the paint? Can they revert to 70% of themselves defensively?
Yeah,
to kind of shut that down a little bit or make it uncomfortable and make them readjust. You know, the thing you talk about readjusting mid game too. In these 7-game series, you got to readjust mid series, because if something's successful in game 1, it's a 90% chance it's not going to be successful in game 2 because they've already made that adjustment. So what's your adjustment going to be there? So it's just mind games, man. And like you said, coaching does matter. These guys all play at a high level. It is a 3-headed monster. And I guess let me ask this question: What would be the more shocking loss? The Nets losing with a 3-headed monster, or the Bucks losing with how good they've looked?
I mean, I think the sports world would, at least the NBA would go crazy, and probably their brains would explode if the Nets lose. Because I mean, no one's expecting the Nets to not be. Everywhere I've seen, it's Nets Lakers, Nets Lakers, Nets Clippers. It's always Nets, and so like that's why I guess like at least my pick of Philly is crazy to people, but they've been one of the best teams in the league this year. But Brooklyn has also been extremely injured for basically the entirety of the season. They just happened to all appear at the exact same time in the playoffs. You know, take with that what you will.
They're very rested.
You know, so I think that if the Nets were to lose, you would see everybody going crazy, making up excuses for all these guys.
For sure.
Oh, it's Steve Nash. It's Steve. Like how many times are you gonna see people say it's Steve Nash's fault if this team doesn't make it to the finals? Like Steve Nash might be in trouble because of the fact that they'll do everything in their power not to blame the fact that they got 3 guys who
can't play defense,
are great but can't play defense, with a coach that's not known for playing defense as a player, and his assistant coach, who D'Antoni we know doesn't give a lick about defense.
Yeah. So
I mean, everyone says defense doesn't matter, but they say that all the time. But when you get to the playoffs, defense matters because that's when the tempo slows down. The game slows down, and you have it's the reason why the Rockets had such a hard time getting to the finals is because the game slows down, and as much as you want to push it, and this team loves pushing the ball, it's not always that easy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. You know, like the Rockets and their pace in the regular season versus the postseason. Like they just never could get over that hump of like making that adjustment and playing a bit more strategically, ensuring the ball. And it was ultimately the downfall. And back to your question, Jesus, I think it's the Nets merely because of where they would be losing. Like if this was a conference finals matchup, I think it'd be like a lot less disappointing. But since it's second round, and this is why we're so lucky to have that matchup, is because like all the stakes are there. Like this is like a make it or break it year for both of these teams. Probably even Milwaukee more than Brooklyn, since Milwaukee's been in this scenario the last 3 years. But for Brooklyn, it's like, dude, I mean, I saw a poll on ESPN the other day. I was like, what was the better big 3? Was it Miami with LeBron and D Wade and Bosh? Was it the Spurs with Spurs, Ginobili? Ginobili. Yeah. And or is it Brooklyn, right? So Brooklyn has one of the best three like trios of all time, but also like they're a lot different than those other teams. Like those other teams played both sides of the ball. They played full seasons together. They played a lot of minutes together.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely like big time question marks on Brooklyn's in for me, which is why I even think like the Bucks will push them to 7.
Yeah,
but yeah, man, you know,
it's like on those big three. It's like if the Nets big three, they pushed all the attributes in the game to athleticism and skill, but that means that dysfunction is at the highest level.
Yeah.
and on the Spurs, it's like athleticism, like mid, but teamwork is like the highest level, and that's what won those championships for the Spurs because they weren't that athletic.
Right.
I mean, you know, but they played as a team and they bought in and they won. But you look at these guys, and these guys have all the talent in the world, but they got all the dysfunction in the world too.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Miami team, that Miami Big Three, man. They lost that first year that they were together. I mean, they didn't succeed that first year. They lost in the finals to a team that was just better put together, better coaching, in the Dallas Mavericks that year. So, you know, take with what you will. Also, we got to stop making these lists before. We got to stop asking these questions before the team's done anything. Like, why do they put on the hierarchy, the higher tier of the damn big threes, and they haven't had a full season together? Can we stop this, man?
Haven't done anything. Yeah, man. That's what it is. That's what it gets down to. Like they wanna crown them already. Just go ahead and crown them.
Yeah. Oh man, I know. Like if you want it so bad, if it's the way I think whenever you hear like a Stephen A. Smith say like, oh, if LeBron isn't in the finals, it's a wash and I don't want to watch it. Well, then just put him in the finals then, man. Like if that's what you really want, if you only want the two best players to go at it, then just do that. But what's the point of playing a season and having a playoffs if you're not gonna if you don't care, if you just want certain people in the finals? I heard one guy talk about like the NBA is not going to allow LeBron to lose in the first round. I don't think they get a choice. It's not up to them. You might, and everyone wants to say it's rigged. It's not rigged because if that was the case, the New York Knicks wouldn't be as bad for as long as they have been. Like they would have been. It would have been Lakers Knicks every year or Lakers Celtics every year, but it's not because it's not rigged. As much as everyone wants to think that, trust me, I've been there. I've always wanted to say that. I always wanted to say that
those Rockets losses to the Warriors.
Yeah, man. They didn't want the Rockets to be there because it would have killed their narrative. But it's not it. It's just that we couldn't buy a fucking basket.
Yeah,
we missed 27 threes in a row.
I think that's like a good segue to like talking about the West too, because I think the West is really just kind of like beat up in its own way. Like it's had so long of dominance, and like now you see the Lakers have been banged up. People are still predicting them, but it's like they barely made it in. Warriors they've got eliminated, but they've been banged up all year. Now even some of the teams that worked hard all year, like the Nuggets, they lost Jamal Murray right before the playoffs started, and then now the Suns have CP injured again, and it's like, well, he's still playing, but he's obviously not 100%. And now, like me and you talked about it, like when the Lakers went up 2-1, it's like, damn, like is this what Chris Paul's peak was? Is like, being a great regular season player, but he's always injured in the playoffs. Like there was a lot of doubt about that, and so for me right now, like either I'm seeing the East teams as the better teams is my point. Mm-hmm. Whether they'll win or not, I don't know. I mean. Say Milwaukee. You beat Brooklyn, then you probably have Philly next, and then after that you have what I'm saying. So that's going to be a hard road for them. But ultimately, like I think the teams in the East and the matchups are just more sexy because all the players are healthy right now, and then also like there's more talent back in that conference because it's been neglected for a long time.
Yeah.
This is the funny part where whenever LeBron was in the East, it's like he's beating nobodies, and then now he leaves the East, and now it's jam packed, and the West is always hurt. But one thing too, like the complete meltdown of the Clippers, man. Like, I mean, they Kawhi can walk away at the end of this year, man. as a free
Right.
agent, and they don't have a first round pick until 2027 because of that. So
Because of Paul George.
yeah, so if you're Kawhi, do you stick around or do you just book it and go somewhere else since this isn't working and you're in your prime? And also like his limitations have kind of been kind of exploited, I guess, now where he's not the greatest offensive player. And he's not, and now he's not playing defense, which he was stellar at before. But you're right, man. Like the West is banged up. The West isn't as strong, you could say, as the East right now. But I still think the two teams that can probably beat any of the East right now are the ones that are playing, even though they're both hurt, which is the Lakers and Phoenix. And I don't know, man. Right now, it's Phoenix is up by 14 in the second quarter. So
my pick's looking good, man. I picked the Phoenix Suns and the Philadelphia 76ers. I thought I was crazy.
Sold me.
Oh yeah,
you sold me on Phoenix. the first show we did this, I was like, man, I'm picking Lakers, and then like 2 episodes later, like I was just like listing all this stuff about the Suns, and I'm like, you know what? He's fucking right. I'm picking the Suns.
You had DeAndre Ayton, who's become a star. I'm gonna say he's become a star this year. He's become a legit big man. He's only got 3 points at the moment, but that's okay. We have Devin Booker, 18 points at the moment. But I didn't see this dude coming at all. Cam Payne has become a vital piece of this organization. Yeah. This dude when Chris Paul went down, this kid stepped up and took it, basically put the team on his shoulders at one point and said, no, we're not going down like that. I think it was probably game 4 when that happened. Was it game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was game 4 when they said, no, we're not going out like this. We're not going back to Phoenix down 3-1. Let me put the team on my back, and he hit a couple threes in that game that let the team make sure the team didn't go away, and at the same time playing hard-nosed defense. We're not talking about Cam Payne enough. The national media is not talking about Cam Payne enough, and I think that's a mistake because this dude is a rough rider, man. Like he's what you want in a sixth man coming off of the bench. You want someone that's going to come in here and just punch the other team in the nose and have no fear. And I told you after that first game, I think that the Suns told the Lakers, we're not scared of you. We're not worried about you. We know that you're the Lakers. We know that you're LeBron James, but that don't matter. And DeAndre Ayton, to me, said that to AD in that first game. But then, AD goes off and has 2 back-to-back 30-point games. And even though he got hurt in game 4, he was putting up a goose egg. Dude, he only had 3 points. Or something like that. Like he was playing horribly. Right. He was looking like regular season AD. And I told you my issue with Paul with AD.
Regular season AD.
He is, man. That's who he is. And I've said this for years, dude. Like I understand that he always had bad teams in the Pelicans. I understand that. But when he came to LA, well, for one, I never thought he had it in him. He just doesn't. I feel that he's soft. He's extremely soft to me. You're that big, you're that long, and you literally told the Pelicans, and I'm pretty sure that he told the Lakers, like, I don't want to play the 5. Dude, you're 7 feet tall with a wingspan about as long as you. Like you should.
And he's good at the 5 when he plays.
He's great at the 5, man. But he doesn't want to play.
He could be the best 5 in the game. Like he could be.
Yeah, man.
He could be what people wanted Dwight Howard to be if Dwight Howard had post moves and a shot. Like defensively, his arm length and just his quickness and speed.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's not that guy, man. He's not that guy. He didn't grow up that guy. I think his growth spurt kind of messed him up because he was a point guard or a shooting guard until he hit that growth spurt, and that kind of messed up his mentality. But
don't even start on LeBron either, man. Don't get me started on LeBron. The fact that he's only 3 for 8, man. He's only 3 for 8 at the moment. Like this is the game where you basically say. Because everyone's saying, that AD is going to be the guy when LeBron retires. He's going to retire in a few years. He's going to be the guy. This is when you say, no, dude, I'm still here. I'm the guy. Let me put this team on my shoulders. And he's 3 for 8 right now. He can't buy a basket. He's shooting all these crazy. They're great when they go in. Those fadeaway threes. They're awesome when they go in. But I kind of got to agree with someone that doesn't like LeBron. he does those shots because they don't go in often, and when they do go in, it saves face. Like if it doesn't go in, it wasn't supposed to go in anyways. But when it goes in, wow, it was amazing. And we talk about LeBron, like dude, when he hit that three in game 2 to ice it, dude, I was talking about like, dude, that was an amazing shot. Like that's why he's LeBron. But then you see him, he attempted that shot like 5 other times and didn't, and like clanked it off the front of the rim. Like a broken clock is right twice a day.
I mean, I guess you can say that, man, but then you can't say that without like that whole stat for Michael Jordan. He missed like 100 and something game winners or something like that. So you have to miss to get those clutch ones in too, man. Like it's not like
you're right.
It's like baseball, man. Like baseball, they're actually the best hitters fail 7 times out of 10. You know, like the best clutch guys are gonna take 10 shots and miss 7 of them, but those 3 are gonna be the memorable ones. You know, so I mean that's how I look at it. You can't go too far either way. Like he's able to make them because he's LeBron, but then he also throws up a bunch of junk because he's LeBron and he thinks he can make them. Okay. You know, so that's how I feel about it personally.
Here's my rebuttal. You're built like a fucking Mack truck. The fact that you're not getting to the line more often, like, is ridiculous. And it's not that and I understand he doesn't. He's kind of like a Shaq.
He doesn't get calls, man. He doesn't get calls.
So keep doing it until you force the referees to make that call. Because eventually, guess what? The refs are eventually going to make that call, especially late in the game. Late in the game, man. As much as we want to say like refs let the game go, how many times at the end of a game do we see like all the game is moving at a fast pace, and all of a sudden we have like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 people go to the line in a row because they start to call these little nip tuck fouls because they want the game to be as clean as possible, but it's inconsistent. It's the way I feel about like umpires throwing a strike. Like, okay, if you're gonna call that low ball a strike, then call it every time.
On both sides. Yeah,
so that's all I want. But so LeBron's eventually gonna get there, but he doesn't do it, man. Like, it's frustrating. It's not even like I'm not trying to like say he's not one of the greatest of all time. He's not my greatest of all time, but he is number 2.
But I think you also gotta understand too, like, y'all know LeBron is one of the smartest players in the league, man. Like,
oh yeah.
So you also gotta understand that as much as we want to make him the old LeBron, he's 37 years old.
36.
36. No, I think he's
okay. He's about to turn 37 in December of next year. Of this year.
So like in 6 months.
36.
Yeah. Okay. So he's not the spring chicken anymore. He's probably played the most playoff games by this time than more than Michael, more than.
I think they said he has 40. He has almost 40 more playoff games than the entire Suns roster.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and what I'm trying to get to is, you know, I don't think he's as fast as he once was. And so, yes, he's built like a Mack truck, but that means that guys can get in front of him and take charges more. And I think he sees that as well. And he doesn't want to like go and get beat up because he needs to be, I guess, more fresh for the rest of the playoffs if he makes it. I just feel it's calculated. I feel like a lot of the stuff with LeBron is calculated. And I think that's one of them where he's trying to save himself. And again, you know, you say, and this is you know, I like LeBron. I'm not a LeBron fan. Like, I think Michael Jordan is number 1, but I like his game. It's different. It's not the same that we're used to. Like Kobe, he's not that killer mentality type guy, but he's gotten better and he makes his teammates better and he wins. But he also fakes his fouls a lot, man. He's like one of the best actors in the league. So
don't get me started.
even with those
that's where I was going.
Even with those flails, he's not getting calls, you know? So he's just, at this point, he's just like, man, I'm not going to get a call in there, so I'm just not going to go in there.
I think that's my big pet peeve of the Lakers and why I choose to root against them is mainly because of them searching for those fouls, man. And, like, I talked to Alec about this before because I know at one point the Rockets kind of had that similar outlook in the postseason and just kind of looking for the official. But now seeing it with another team, dude, it's so hard to watch, man. And, like, you know, as great as LeBron is, like, it kind of sucks to see him do that sometimes. Like, there was a clip of last game, like, towards
Paul?
With Paul,
well,
but also the last game, it was Schroeder missed a layup, and like him and LeBron were looking at the ref for the call, and the Suns passed the ball up the court to Crowder, LeBron's man, and he busts that three to basically seal the game. And it's like, dude, like Alex said it best. He's like, you're looking for a call instead of playing defense. You know, that's just the mentality that's their subconscious behavior at this point, because they're just straight up looking for that. So that's my biggest pet peeve. And I just wanted to give you a stat, Jesus, where you're talking about like LeBron playing a lot of games. So just to give it to you guys quickly, the top 7 players, LeBron James has played a total of 1,310 games. Second place is Andre Iguodala with 1,192. Carmelo, Dwight Howard, Trevor Ariza, Chris Paul, and then Lou Will is the top 7.
So, and that's what I'm saying, man. Like nobody's listened to their body more than LeBron, man. Like,
he spends like millions of dollars on it.
That's what I'm saying. So I have to think it's a calculated thing as well, that he doesn't drive as much as he used to, because it's not there. He's either a step slow, and he knows he's going to get a lot of charging fouls. I mean, you got to think like that, man. Like this guy is a cerebral player. He's smart. He has a high basketball IQ. There has to be more reasons behind him not driving than I just don't want to or whatever. Like it has to be more than just that, because you got to believe that based on his body of work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get it, but my biggest thing is with you, Paul, is like you said with the fouling. Alex Caruso has become unwatchable because of it. It's kind of what made me not want to see AD go to the Lakers, is because I think, in my opinion, he was already soft, and going to Lakers just makes you even softer to play with LeBron, because like I said, you're focused on trying to get a call, and you're arguing with the ref when the ref can't change that call. Like you're arguing, it's like a non-issue. Like you shouldn't be arguing. Like you can tell him later down, like when you get, there's always stoppages, and you always see like the players talking to the officials. First of all, I don't understand why the officials, why they don't say nothing. Like if I was an official, players would hate me, because I would be like, yo, I don't care. Like go away. But I mean, you're like I said, you're arguing a call that can't be made, can't be reversed, and you're giving up a wide open three to the guy who keeps talking trash to you.
And
like,
you're in the playoffs on top of it.
Yeah.
This ain't a regular season game.
And AD's gone down. Like you're short now. You're short a guy, and you can't afford to give up plays like that. Like they legit gave up, and I think I would say like in the middle of that fourth quarter, I feel like they legit gave up. They just didn't care anymore. They were like, okay, let's just look to game 5, which is fine. It's not a big deal. But when it becomes that obvious, it's bad, and it only gives the more people more ammunition to bash LeBron for. Like, there's plenty of it. We don't need any more LeBron. Yeah, like I don't get.
They might be giving up right now too, man. Looks like they're down 22. The last I checked.
Dude. Yeah, it's like 50-something to 20-something or something like that.
55 to 28. So
Devin Booker's hung the 20.
Almost down 30.
Yeah, Devin Booker's already got a 20 piece on him. Campaign. When you're giving up 14 points to Campaign, yeah, you gave up, man.
Campaign is kind of like the Fred Van Fleet vibes, from Toronto. Yeah,
absolutely.
Bro, Campaign only 8 minutes and is shooting 85% for the goal.
LeBron's got 7 points. 7 points on 3 of 10 shooting. One for 3 of threes.
He's carrying the team, man. What do you expect? He's carrying the team.
That's what's crazy is he's still the one carrying the team, as shitty as the numbers are.
Yeah. I mean, Kuzma's got the same numbers. Kuzma's got 7 as well. So when you're tied with Kuzma, man, it's not good enough. And I love it because I listen to all those national debate shows, and everyone's like, LeBron's going to put up a 38 piece. He's going to go crazy. I'm like, he's going to put up like 25. Like, let's be honest. He's going to put up 25. He's going to have like 19 assists, though.
He's going to have like 10 of those 25 in the fourth quarter when it's out of reach already.
Yeah, exactly. Empty calories, man. Yeah, it's 55 to 28 already. Not looking good for the Lakers. Jesus, I know you need to go ahead and head out, man. So if you want to go ahead and plug anything you want to plug, I know we got a show tomorrow. So
yeah, we got a show tomorrow, man. We'll be back. Armbars and suplexes. Got a lot to talk about. Ultimate Fighter was tonight. A pretty cool one. I know, Alec, you've been watching it.
Yeah.
So just check us out tomorrow. Paul, if you want to join us tomorrow, man, or just, chime in, man, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate that, brother. Thank you for stopping by today.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
All right, man. Catch you tomorrow. All right, man. Let's go ahead and get into the rest of these series. So the other series that we have going, games actually going on right now, Trailblazers Nuggets. This is one that I wasn't expecting to go. I was kind of expecting like 6 games, but I wasn't expecting it to be this close. Every time the Nuggets look like they take a huge lead, Damian Lillard comes back and starts banging threes. So I'm looking at I'm gonna go ahead and look up the numbers right now. Damian has 27 points. If you can, could you get me his average for the playoffs so far? I don't know if you can get that info.
Yeah, I'll look for that.
He's got 27, followed behind by C.J. McCollum and Norman Powell, which is awesome to see. Nuggets, Jokic and Michael Porter Jr., MPJ, leading the way. All this tells me, though, is that if Jamal Murray was here, this would have probably been like a gentleman's sweep or even possibly a sweep, because I wasn't expecting this Denver team to be this good without Jamal Murray. Like, me and you, we chimed in on it as soon as it happened. When Jamal Murray went down, we're like, well, there goes the Nuggets' chance. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting here thinking, if they can pull the Mavericks and if they can pull the Suns, or the Lakers, they have a chance, man. Like, if they get out of those teams, they stand a chance. Not less so with the Suns, but definitely if they pull the Lakers. I think that if they pull the Lakers without AD, who the hell is going to stop Jokic? Like, he's just going to bang threes if he has to, if Drummond's covering him.
I think, I still picked Denver mainly because of their experience last postseason and how Jokic was playing. I still feel like they can get out of this. I personally, I thought they would win today and tomorrow and do it in 6. But yeah, like what you said about Jamal Murray, I agree with. Like, to me, if I imagine Jamal Murray in this series, I think it's maybe Nuggets in 5, just because, Dame might have a great game, but other than that, it seems like a wrap. And to get back to what you asked me, so Dame is averaging about 31 this playoffs.
Holy shit,
but what's crazy is he even had a game where he only scored 10 points. But his other games have been 42, 37, and 34.
Damn. That's crazy, man. It's funny, man, because it seems to be the story with Dame every year. He's always so close, but he just can't make that jump. Don't forget the year that he went to they were in the Western Conference Finals and all, like, random. Like, I didn't even see them going to the Western Conference Finals. They make it there and they get absolutely blown out by the Warriors. Like, every time they look like they look close. Like, if they win this series, guarantee they get swept by the Suns. Or if they make it to the Western Conference, guarantee they get swept by the Clippers or the Jazz or something. It's just crazy to see, man.
Well, there's like 2 teams that remind me of each other, one in the West and one in the East, and that's the Celtics and the Blazers. So when I look at both of those teams, I see, for years, like, it's felt like unlimited potential, but they just can't get over that hump. So, like, I want to see them make changes, obviously. For Boston, like, I think I want to see them move on from Marcus Smart. Like, I think he's a good fit for them, but I think they have to, like, experiment with something more offensively to get, like, a result to push them over the hump. And then when I think about Portland, I mean, dude, they just haven't really had players play out. I mean, look at Covington at the beginning of the year. He seemed like he was going to be a nice piece for them. That didn't work out. Nurkic, like, he had a lot of potential and then kind of got banged up and hurt, and now he's just about above average, but he didn't exactly bring them over either. Even some of the smaller signings, I guess you could say, with Carmelo, Carmelo doesn't have great numbers with that, man. Like, it's rare he's scoring over 10. He gives them good minutes, but again, like, it's really just Dame and a bunch of role players is how the Blazers feel. And I don't really know who you point that to. Maybe the GM, maybe the coach. The coach has had a long time too, but Portland has to make that change. Like, they got to sacrifice the future of their team to get somebody with Dame. I mean, there's no other option in my opinion.
Yeah, a part of me feels like maybe they're kind of resting on their laurels because of the fact that they know that they're going to have Damian Lillard for the rest of his career. He stated he doesn't want to go anywhere else. And I think when you're a player, even though, like, you like to hear that as a fan, you kind of take away your leverage.
Definitely.
As a player, and they might think, that they can just kind of coast because they're going to have you for the rest of their career. But you got to kind of do what the Giannis thing, man. Giannis
Exactly.
was definitely flirting with leaving, and forced them to make that move for Drew Holiday and for PJ Tucker. So maybe he needs to pull a power move like that and get get somebody over here. I know they tried with Norman Powell, but I just feel like Norman Powell is not a big enough piece. You need somebody. The fact that they have he has a great shooting guard, but they're the same size, man. Like him and CJ are like the same size. They're so small. You need somebody who can really go in there and get minutes and get like buckets and make their own shot. I think too. Damian Lillard is a good point guard, but he's not really a passing guard.
Exactly.
He's not a pure point guard. He's more of a shooter, and you love him for it. But you have two shooters there. With Robert Covington and Norman Powell, and then Nurkic, who this is
too many shooters, really,
Yeah, and this is the perfect time for Nurkic to kind of show Denver, you made the wrong decision getting rid of me.
Yes,
you chose incorrectly, and he's not, man. Like he's just kind of showing him that they made the right choice. He's confirming what they did.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I personally, for both Boston and Portland, I would like to see them go different directions with coaches. I think Brad Stevens and Terry Stotts should kind of move on. And not saying they're bad coaches, but I just think that they've kind of hit a wall.
Yeah, they might thrive somewhere else for sure. I could see both of them thriving somewhere else. That's a good point. What you make about just going back to that real quick with Dame and kind of like all these guys that are shooters, but also like Dame's loyalty might be to a fault. Like I'm sure he feels loyal to CJ. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he feels loyal to Melo. He wanted Melo there for years and was like, look, I still mean my word, things like that. But I think if you're that loyal to a franchise, you do have to do what Giannis did. And you kind of have to be the dictator of what's going around there. You have to tell him, look, I'm going to stay, but, this is my expectations. These types of things has to happen. And he might enjoy being, kind of friends and putting all his trust in his teammates. But at the same time, like that hasn't exactly rewarded him yet. So I think he might need to be more open to these trades. Like get CJ out of there, man. CJ's a great player. He seems like a cool guy on his podcast and everything, but you tried that experiment and it hasn't worked. Unless you're going to trade the rest of your team to put somebody next to Dame and CJ, I feel like you have to move away from that. So that's a move I would like them to make. I'm looking at CJ and Terry Stotts and kind of just hoping one of those two changes because I like Dame, bro. He deserves better, but I can't feel bad for them if you just try the same thing every year.
Yeah, for sure. I agree, man. We're gonna go pretty quickly here. We have 4 games tomorrow, 3 series that could possibly be ended tomorrow. Out of these 3, Wizards, Sixers, Hawks, Knicks, Grizzlies, Jazz. I have 2 questions. Which one are you calling a for sure? Which one are you putting money down? You have to put your house on it. Which one's getting closed out, and which one's going to 6?
I'm gonna put my money on the Sixers Wizards. I think the main reason the Sixers lost was because of what happened to Joel Embiid. Mm-hmm. I just think they weren't ready for that, and they didn't know how to react because they've been very good most of the year. So I think they're going to come back. They're going to come back focused, be a lot better defensively, and I think the Sixers are going to close that out. The other 2 series, just to give some brief thoughts on those, the Hawks have all the swagger right now, man. They're going back to New York, I believe.
Yep.
But they're just, I showed you the interview of Clint Capella earlier. They're just not scared of these guys, man. So they're going to close them out. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, but definitely by game 6. And then the last one with the Jazz and Grizzlies. It's almost over for the Grizzlies, but I kind of feel the same way. Like, Ja might have a great game, but they are back in Utah, man. So that's a close second for me as far as for sure game. I think that one will end too.
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to go a little crazy, man.
Okay.
I think I would put my money down for the Hawks to take out the Knicks in game 5.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, man. This is the series that I think everybody saw going 7 games, and the Hawks have looked like the Hawks have made the Knicks look like they just don't belong in the playoffs at all. And a large part of it is on Julius Randle. He hasn't shown up in this playoff series. Whereas Trae Young, he came out and it was like he told them, like, oh yeah, you're looking at Trae Young. I mean, you're looking at Julius Randle as the guy. Derrick Rose looks great. Let me show you what I'm about to do. And he's doing it while like embracing the vitriol that he's getting from the New York fans. And it's almost like it's pushing him more and more. Obviously Game 2 was different, but in every single game he's constantly talking, and it's why I like Luka so much. It's why I like Trae so much. And they're connected because I believe Dallas I think Atlanta drafted Luka. They made the trade. Yeah, and they made the trade, just swap basically. So like they're always going to be connected, but they have that similar style of playing in terms of they like trash talking and they invite that, and you don't see that in players very often anymore. You see a lot of players kind of getting their feelings hurt, or just not really wanting to have any kind of interaction with fans. But that's a moment that'll live on forever in Hawks lore and in basketball, of Trae Young hitting that buzzer beater and telling and shushing the crowd and telling them it's real quiet in here. Like that's gonna live on forever. And the fact that he said like he wanted to hear more of those boos, like he accepts that. And I think the worst possible thing for the Knicks right now is playing in the Garden. Like think about how crazy that stadium is gonna be tomorrow, and knowing that guy over there in Trae Young isn't gonna give two Fs about it. He feeds off of it. And that's scary. And then Clint Capella, who's not really known for talking, not really known for trash talking, is speaking up and basically saying, like, you're going on vacation tomorrow. Like, your vacation starts tomorrow night. So that's a big thing. And being completely honest, like, this team, I can see having a really great series with Philly. Like, I think this Hawks team, they have shooters everywhere, man. Like Horter, Bogdanovich, and then you just tell Capella, I just need you to be out there and grab these rebounds, man. And he's doing it like fantastically. You're not asking him to go out there and give get big like buckets. You're just kind of telling him like, grab the rebound and I'm gonna lob it to you. I'm gonna lob it up to you every now and then, and it's succeeding. I think it's gonna be tough.
Kind of hurt,
Yeah, exactly.
That could help. So.
Exactly, man. And we know Capella is super athletic. Like he's not a bum in the paint. He doesn't just like sit in the lane and just create traffic. Like he can block you even if you beat him off of the dribble. Like he can get a block. So I like this Hawks team. I don't know if they could beat Philly, but I know they would definitely have Philly sweating. Probably next would be Grizzlies and Jazz, just because I think the Grizzlies' time, like you said, is just kind of up. But Ja could have a great game. But it's all going to come down to how does Embiid recover? Like, does he recover? And can Ben Simmons, if Embiid can't play, can he close out this team? It's all going to be on his shoulders, man. I mean, obviously, we're still going to go Philly, but I think I'm for sure changing my answer from the Grizzlies. It was nice. That first game was real nice, but Donovan Mitchell came in and kind of showed Ja there's levels to this. And,
man. They lost their momentum quick.
Yeah, and Donovan, he's playing great, but he's not playing like to his potential.
Right.
Like, we know he could be better, which is even scarier.
Yeah.
So, and then last series we have LA, the Clippers, and Mavs.
And the Mavs, yeah.
Mavs giving up both games in Dallas. So all of a sudden, like I said earlier, we're back down to a even series basically. Home court advantage is gone for the Mavs. Can Luka bounce back with another 40-piece, or are Paul George and Kawhi going to put it together and close out this series this week? Because I think we're going to go. I mean, most of the series are going to get closed out this week.
Bro, like my quick thoughts on that series is like, I think it was Game 3, and I think Kawhi had he got a 40-piece. And he also was defending Luka, because they made that switch, right? Like Ty Lue made that great discovery to put Kawhi and Luka.
Who would have known?
My whole point on it was like, okay, it can't all be on Kawhi. Like that's what I was thinking. Like game 3, like they finally won, but I was like, man, it can't all be on Kawhi. But then as Luka, like when I watched that last game, and Luka was hurt, I was like, dude, there's no way the Mavs can win unless Luka is healthy or at least like scoring a good amount.
Yeah.
So right now, like I picked the Mavericks, but like logically, I could see the Clippers winning just because of their health.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, I think we'll know basically next game whether the Mavs are still in this or not. If Luka's still not healthy, I mean, I think the Clippers could win in 6 at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I was actually at one point thinking about how crazy it would be if we got Luka in the finals this early in his career. It would have been insane.
I would love it, man.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen now because of how they're playing. But like the way that they were putting a whooping on the Clippers, man. Like I was really thinking, like, could they do it? Because if they pull, Utah, like I mean, everyone sees Utah as the lesser of the 1 seeds, me included. If either team really has a chance to make it to the conference finals if they do play against the Jazz. So, it's crazy.
Yeah, Luka reminds me of that one year where we had Harden before CP.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like him balling out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That when Harden was on, the whole system was on, and when he wasn't, like we were shitty. And that's kind of how I see this Mavs team. Like it's all based on Luka and how he feels. But I digress, man. We got an exciting week ahead.
All right, man. We're about to go ahead and head out. If you are not going to go to sleep right now, definitely check out the Trailblazers Nuggets game, which is what I'm about to do. They are tied with 2 minutes to go. I mean, their Nuggets are 2 points with 2 minutes to go. I'm about to tune into that game right now and see what happens.
Cool, brother.
So thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week to talk, most likely breaking down our second round series, what our predictions are going forward, how we fared in our current predictions. So definitely check out next week. You can find me on Twitter at AlecMiller0423. You can also catch me tomorrow night on the ANS podcast, as you heard earlier, with Jesus. We'll be talking all things UFC from the past couple weeks now. So go ahead and plug your stuff, man.
Yeah, man. Catch me on Instagram at PL Trinidad, as you see here on the screen. Yeah, man, a lot of things going on in my personal life, but we're still going strong on the podcast.
Yeah.
Still getting back on music. You guys can see I got the guitar in the back. Gonna get into some of that acoustic real soon. So yeah, man, just appreciate all the support from my homies, Alec and my new homie Jesus, and also just my wife and some of my colleagues as well. I just want to thank everybody. If you are watching or if you watch this in the future, your support means the world. And once again, thank you.
Absolutely, guys. So we'll see you guys next week for the regular podcast. Peace out, guys.